what state and federal government assistance is there for people who live on the streets, if any?
Well, there is assistance, indirect. There's places like Matthew Talbot who do offer beds with support and all sorts of marvellous creative things. That place would not be there without government dollars backing it very heavily. Services like the kind we offer here, we have a program for people who are long-term mentally ill, as well as a drop-in centre, as well as a youth centre. The government provide about 30% of what it costs for us to run there. Now, you could whinge and say, what's 30%? But the answer is 30%. We couldn't do it without it. We couldn't do it without that. So we're highly reliant on government dollars in to do the kind of services that we do. But 70% of it, obviously, is privately generated, privately given, private purses and wallets and checkbooks. In one sense, the government does a fair bit, but I think where people are let down is through the provision of supported accommodation for people who are frail mentally and for whom a roof is only part of the answer.
Yeah.
So that's I suppose where governments need to kind of pick up the game.
What appears to be a small amount of public housing in the Woolloomooloo area. Would the government be best to sell that land and use the income generated and put that towards public housing, or is that a simplistic view and just seen as moving the problem further out? I mean, I imagine any public housing in this vicinity would just generate
worth a fortune.
Yeah, so that's why I'm sort of thinking, would that make a dent? Would that make?
It's an idea I've never really thought about, but there's no doubt about that. The public housing in the inner city is worth a fortune. Fortune. If you're really lucky, you can get public housing with a view of the bridge. It's So you're probably right. There is money that could be generated. You would be turfing out however many people are living in those things right now. There's something very attractive about the inner city to people, and I'm not quite sure why. In fact, I've never quite worked out why King's Cross is so attractive to people. If there are runaway kids, you can bet your bottom dollar you'll find them in King's Cross. And it's really hard to fathom why that's true.
Yeah, well, you've got. Well, as you said, there's a lot of free food around here. There's a lot of, I guess,
services. Yeah,
that are in this vicinity. And look, I mean, I guess it's got a reputation, and that draws people in, I'm sure.
Yeah, and lights. Maybe there's action.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it.
You've sort of covered it in a way in that a lot of people on the streets aren't there for a long time. But for those people who are on the streets and do find themselves on the streets, that sounds like there is a way to get back on their feet.
For some, yeah, for some. We can show you plenty of stories. Actually, we can show you plenty of stories. Meet so-and-so, look at him. He's employed, he's doing okay. He was on the streets. The hardcore that we talked about, they're usually so mentally ill that they've lost their sense of time. And it's really, really hard to make progress for them. Although we don't actually give up. So actually half an hour before you walked in here, we had an interview with a guy who's lived on the streets, as far as I can tell, for 30, 40 years. And we're trying really hard to get him housed. And the madness of the conversation made it probably in one sense the interview of the century, but we're trying, and we might find an answer for him. Yeah, it'll be a great day for humanity if we can just find the man a shower. That'll be a good start. But anyway.
Quickly finish off. In a capitalist society, do we just have to accept that there's always going to be people who are living below the poverty line, destitute and homeless, or are we deluding ourselves to think that there will be some sort of utopia without poverty and homelessness?
It's a good question. I wish I had an answer. From my philosophical spot, theological spot, every week in here we pray, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." If there's no homelessness in heaven, then we have to work towards no homelessness here. But you know, I'm probably the only one working from a theological foundation around here. So I think it's true to say that all of our people here work for a better day. You know, they always work for a better day, and that there really is a lot that can be done for people. It's not hopeless. There is amazing response for people who find a safe pair of hands and someone to guide them through to a better day. So it's not hopeless, and I really believe that we have the resources to fix the homelessness problem. I don't think a fatalism is at all helpful, and if it's, I don't even think it's realistic. Even if there is a certain amount of domestic violence, there's always people coming in the front door in a sense. There's a very good constructive back door that we can be running here, so that the experience of homelessness might be a day and then bingo, you're in a better answer and people are building a better life. Yeah. Simply accepting that there'll be some people on the street and then watching their health, physical health, mental health, go down, dramatically down, and burying lots of them is hardly an answer.